Good morning, everybody, or good evening, depending on where you guys are at. Welcome to the DCKAP eSessions for 2021. This is our February edition, and we'll be talking about how we went live with Cathy's concept. So looking forward to this event. We have an awesome lineup of just all the partners that were involved with the process of the Cathy's concept website. So Cathy's Concept is a premier customizable gifts provider that sells items ranging from travel, home, wedding, and other related product lines. Information related to new orders, product details, real-time inventory, and customer information were to be manually transferred from one application to another. This was one of their biggest pain points with their site. Orders placed in BigCommerce had to be manually entered into Distribution 1, and the latest information on inventory and product details from Distribution 1 had to be updated manually into BigCommerce. Cathy's concepts require the automation of data entry related to orders, products, inventory, and other key business data from and to their ERP and e-commerce software. So today we'll be going over the case study with some of the partners who were involved with this project. I'd like to have a big shout out to all the sponsors for Distribution 1, from BigCommerce, and from DCKAP Cloras. These are the guys that will be speaking today. So, and with DCKAP, we're really big in community, and we love to bring the ecosystem together. So all these different companies, they have lots of skills, and they're very good at what they do. So if there's anything that we could do to help to even connect you guys to the right technology partner, do let us know. You can reach me at timothyd@dckap.com. So that's Timothy and then D as in David at dckap.com. Next, I'd like to bring up Praveen Venugopal. He's a solution consultant with DCKAP and Cloras, working closely with B2B customers. He comes with a solid e-commerce background. He has spent over 7 years of his career with Amazon and is a PMP certified professional. So, yeah, I'd like to bring up Praveen, one of my colleagues.
Sure. Thank you, Tim. And so let me just share my screen in here. So first of all, thanks a lot, Tim, for the introductions. And it was a great session from Adam and Vijal as well. So it was very insightful in terms of what Distribution 1 does and BigCommerce does. And now we'll talk about on Cloras, which is residing between BigCommerce and Distribution 1. And today we're going to be talking about data automation and smart integrations, the future of B2B commerce. With respect to today's agenda, initially we'll talk about what Cloras is all about, and then we will proceed to a case study of Cathy's concepts. And we will conclude the session with the key takeaway for the B2B merchants from the session. I'd like to get started with a quote which says, "Simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean to make it simple, but it's worth in the end because once you get there, you can move mountains." So it's a very strong statement from Steve Jobs, who's one of the most influential figures in today's era, I would have to say. And as you could really think about it, so it is not just the designs, right? So we generally associate him with designs, but then there is a lot more to it. So even with respect to our day-to-day stuff, so as long as we are able to give them the simple experiences to your customers, so that would go a long way. We'll see on how that can be done, and that's why I just wanted to get started off with this particular quote. And Tim gave a quick intro about myself, and I work as a solution consultant at DCKAP. So I work closely with the B2B merchants and understanding the pain points of customers and coming up with solutions for that. So that's what I have an expertise on. So now let's dive into what Cloras is all about. And with respect to Cloras is Cloud Rapid Automation System. So we have been working on integrations for over a decade, I'll have to say. And over the last 10 years or so, we have done multiple integrations of multiple sorts. And we have seen this as a persistent pain point from each of our customers. So we keep providing some of these custom solutions, but then again, there is always this dependence on the developers. And again, the synchronization was not reliable. And over a period of time, you need to keep investing hours and efforts as part of the integration. So that is when we came up with the product Cloras. And we started off with our customers, and then we started working backwards. So that's how we came up with the solution. And with respect to Cloras, it's a platform agnostic solution. So we are not really dependent in terms of what we can integrate. So we can integrate any of the systems as long as they have an API associated with them. And that being said, with respect to Cloras, as we could integrate multiple systems, but then most of our customers leverage Cloras for integrating the e-commerce, maybe just in this particular case, like BigCommerce or ERP, like Distribution One, or CRM like HubSpot or Salesforce, for instance. So having all of this integrated is what Cloras pretty much does. And it's an omni-channel solution. And yeah, it's not a multi-channel. So the only difference being, so we have everything under the same umbrella. So it makes it easier for the customer. So you're not just doing integrations for two systems and then moving on to do an integration for two different systems. So it makes it easier. So everything is under the same roof. So that is where Cloras plays a very pivotal role. And we have been fortunate enough to have an elite list of clientele. And some of these are on the likes of Viking Range and TJ Snow and some of the bigger brands like Cathy's Concept. So we have been fortunate enough to be working with a lot of these customers, and we have learned a lot from the community. And as I had mentioned, so we started off the product starting off with the customers, and then we started working backwards. So we have learned a lot from the customers, and we have evolved and come along a long way. And we are really grateful. And at this juncture, I want to pay my gratitude. And we are really thankful for all of the learnings that we have had and having the trust on our product. So thank you for that. So what sets Cloras apart? So again, automated integration. So again, with respect to integrations, there could be integrations you're doing just for as a patch-up, but then you need to have that in an automated fashion. So there's no manual intervention. So that is where Cloras plays a very pivotal role. And it's a cloud solution. So you're not really dependent on on-premises infrastructure, which you need to install and have everything set up. So that's not a dependency over here. It's on the cloud. And in case, even if with respect to upgrades and all of that, so we are always there. And we do some basic sanity checks, but then you wouldn't even really know that an update has happened, right? So that is where it comes into picture. And it's a safe and secure solution. So which means that we are PCI compliant and we are also GDPR compliant. And with respect to Cloras, we do not store any data within the system as long as the customers want to enable them. But then generally it is disabled by default. And then we have a seamless flow designer. So which means that with respect to the development aspect of it, so we take complete ownership of developing and delivering it for our customers. But then that being said, we also have a developer intuitive interface, so which makes it easier for the developers to code within Cloras. So so that way you're not really dependent on the Cloras developers down the line. So if you might want to make some minor code changes and all of that, you could do that in-house, or you can even engage a third-party developer to code within Cloras. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a platform agnostic, and you can have multiple systems integrated at once. So we have customers who have integrated 4 or 5 systems, so all under the same umbrella. And mappings and modifiers are one of the key differentiators of Cloras, I'll have to say. Mappings, with respect to mappings, we have a very intuitive interface. So it is more of a drag and drop interface. So that could be 2 systems, right? In this particular use case, it could be Distribution One and BigCommerce. And you could pretty much drag and drop what fields from Distribution One needs to go to what fields on BigCommerce. And even that can be changed by yourself from the Cloras backend. And that makes it easier. And even with small updates and all of that, you're not even dependent on a developer. So all of that can be done in-house. And modifiers adds the additional flavor to it, I'll have to say. So that is what incorporates the business logic. So the data is not meaningful as long as you're able to manipulate information before it is sent over to the target system. A good example could be maybe that could be within Distribution One, the state name could be AZ, while on BigCommerce it could be Arizona. Both these systems needs to understand the nomenclatures. so that it makes it easier for us to communicate data within both these systems. So that is where the mappings and modifiers comes into picture. And it's a completely custom solution. So it is not a preset solution, right? So where you have 4 or 5 services and then you're done. So it is a completely customizable solution. So which means that even in case if you have specific requirements for your business, Cloras is that to scale up on those lines. And with respect to integration, so it could be a real-time or a batch-based synchronization. Both can be handled within Cloras. So with respect to the scheduler, that pretty much helps the cause. So for a batch-based synchronization, you can set up schedules in terms of how frequently the data needs to update. It could be once in few minutes or once in few hours or once in few days. And the real-time synchronization is also equally important, right? Which means that so you could process information in real time. So it could be the pricing data or it could be the inventory information which needs to be sent across in real time. So you get complete flexibility on those lines. So now let's proceed on to the case study on Cathy's concept. So with respect to the challenge that Cathy's concepts had faced initially, and then the solution that we had provided for Cathy's. So as Bijal and Adam had spoken about it, so yeah, choosing the ERP and the e-commerce was the first part of the overall equation. So first they had chosen the ERP, and distribution one was specifically aligning in terms of what they wanted to accomplish. And then BigCommerce was pretty much a scalable solution that they can scale up to any degree. But then with a solution like Cloras, it makes it easier to communicate between both these systems and make sure that the information is consistent across systems and there is no redundant work which is being done over here. So specifically, this was a challenge that the team had over here. So there was they had to do manual update between BigCommerce and distribution one, which led to inaccurate inventory because the inventory was not updated, and then it led to returns as such. And then the customer information was manually moved between the systems. So again, it is also a manual process, but then it doesn't make sense to invest your time when you've already done it on one of these systems. And the order fulfillment in terms of carrier tracking and all of that had to be brought back from distribution one into BigCommerce. So, and then eventually it was error prone and it led to redundant work. And obviously with all of this into perspective, it definitely has a negative impact in terms of the sales funnel conversion because it makes it a little more difficult for your customers, or if in some cases it is a little delayed in terms of when they get to see that. So this was a challenge pretty much Cathy's concepts was having in the first place. And with respect to the solution that we had provided with Cloras, we had provided seamless integration between these systems. And these are the services that we had integrated from BigCommerce to distribution one. So whenever new customers were getting created on BigCommerce, so those were moved into distribution one. And when new orders were created, the orders alongside with the customer information was moved to the distribution one environment so that they are not doing it multiple times. And it was consistent as well. And with respect to integration between distribution one and BigCommerce, the order processing information like the carrier codes and the tracking information was sent back into BigCommerce. And this was happening in a batch-based synchronization. And the product data, with respect to product data, the basic product data was coming in from distribution one and into BigCommerce. And within BigCommerce, the enrichment was happening. And that was done by the Cathy's concepts team. And with respect to inventory, yeah, it was happening in a much better frequency, which made sure that they were not having some of these orders which were getting missed, right? Because in some cases, they had this concern where there was no inventory, but then the orders were placed for them. So those were some of the things that we had provided solutions around with respect to Cloras. So with this, I would like to move on to the next piece of it, which is the key takeaway for B2B merchants. So having Cloras in perspective could be one part of it, but then I would like to emphasize on the bigger picture in terms of what, and again, this is based on the discussions that I've had with a lot of B2B merchants over the last few years, and based on the common pain points. So one thing that we see which has been hindering businesses to grow or which has been not considered as an opportunity is what I'm going to be talking about right now. And that is basically providing them with a low effort experience. So providing with the low effort experience is the key, I will have to say, because a low effort experience is what drives customers to be loyal with you. And we'll also see as part of the next slide on how that transforms as well. And we start off with the customers and work backwards. So just like what we do with Cloras, so that's what we had been doing. And if you could start off and see on what is it that they want and keep providing them with the low effort experiences, and that could come along a long way. So that's what we have seen. And this is a cartoon series which I used to follow when I used to be a kid, which is Richie Rich, and it's even then there was a lot of emphasis on the low effort experiences and making things easier. So I just wanted to put this across in here. And with respect to low effort experiences, so even before I delve in further, so I would like to quickly touch upon the customer journey. So this is something which most of you might be aware of, but then I'll just quickly go through this just to make sure we are all on the same page. So with respect to customer journey, so there's this initial trigger, and then there is this initial brand consideration in terms of multiple brands that they're considering. And then there is an active evaluation in terms of who they want to choose as a merchant. And then the purchase decision is made. And based on the experience you provide to them, so if it is a low effort experience and if they are having a great experience with you, it drives loyalty. And and then in case if you're not able to provide them with a great experience, it drives disloyalty as well. And then they tend to move out of the market. So ideally, we would like to retain our customers. So that is when we are able to keep providing them with the low effort experiences, and that keeps driving loyalty. So that's the ideal situation that we would want to be in. And we spoke about low effort experiences, and you could be wondering, so this is anyways taken for granted, right? So providing anybody with a low effort experience is definitely going to help the cause. But then what I wanted to emphasize here is the magnitude in terms of how it impacts the behavior. So with respect to high effort experience, it drives disloyalty by over 96%, which is a huge number as you could think about it. And high effort experiences also increases the negative word of mouth by over 81%. These are huge numbers as you could think about it. You're losing out on a lot of your customers just because of this. And then on the contrary, if you're able to provide them with a low effort experience, it reduces the cost by 37%. And the last one is a little more of an interesting stat, if you could think about it. So again, in today's world, we keep thinking that differentiation is more in terms of the pricing that we can provide for our customers, how we can differentiate from a competition. So that's what we think about. But then with the low effort experiences, your customers are willing, 88% of your customers are willing to spend a little more. So in case if they get the low effort experiences. So that's what we need to keep doing. So at each of these phases, in terms of the initial trigger or initial brand consideration. So as part of the initial brand, so how easily are they able to identify a brand, or as part of the active evaluation. So even if they're looking at your website, so do you have a self-service model for them to get all of the information? So these are the things that your customers are really looking at as part of making a decision and choosing a vendor. So these are things that you should be really thinking of as you're coming up with solutions. So with this, I would like to conclude my session. And at this juncture, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Bijal and Adam and the entire BigCommerce team as well. So Bijal has been really supportive for us from the distribution one side, which helps the cost, right? Which makes it easier for the customer. So I would have to say, and even from the BigCommerce side, it could be Adam and a few folks that we work with BigCommerce team. And what makes it easier? So even if there are a couple of bottlenecks, it makes it easier for us to communicate with the partnership model that we have. And from a customer standpoint, it makes it easier for the customer to easily have a single point of contact and have everything sorted out that way. So at this juncture, I would like to thank both Adam and Bijal for all of the support that you guys have provided for us. And and that's pretty much what I had. And in case if you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email, and I should be able to look at that. Yeah. Thank you, and I'll hand it over to Tim. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Praveen. And just stay on the line too. So we're gonna have bring up all the presenters again, and then we'll have a Q&A discussion panel. So again, I'd like to just thank all the sponsors with all the speakers as well. So from Distribution One, from BigCommerce, and for Cloras. That was a great informative session. And just by looking at the poll section too, it seems like a lot of you guys were looking for some help in integration. That was the number one aspect for maybe some of your pain points. But then also managing data and even gathering requirements and better design. So if you guys do need any help with that, do reach out. We will be having a post-event networking session after this. Let me click on that real quick. So I'll share that, and you guys could join that immediately after this session. So yeah, so we'll have our sales team. We'll have other people in the ecosystem join that room as well. So that'll be a great way to network if you guys are still available. And just upcoming, we'll have our next eSession on March 9th. And look forward to having the next eSession on March 9th. If you guys don't have any questions, we'll see you guys then. So talk to you guys soon.